Life savings was suddenly wiped out. Everything you planned for in the future instantly gone. It happened to people here in the Valley who spent their careers protecting our country from drugs and crime. And tonight, ABC 15 investigator Lori Jane Gliha follows the money trail and uncovers the mistake costing one man his life.
You can get wealthy very quick if you're very lucky.
This is a story about money and trust.
And felt like he was really looking out for me, really looking out for my money.
About saving, investing, and making plans for a secure financial future.
I had no reason to worry about anything.
It's also a story about greed.
I get 1097 at 14,780 Mandarin Road.
He's got a Glock and possibly other weapons.
And it ends with a bloody scene, one man dead, and hundreds of hardworking Americans like you left without their life savings.
If this had happened to me 10 years ago, it would have been catastrophic to the point where I probably would have thought of taking my life.
For Ahwatukee's Scott Snyder, the story begins when he joined the Drug Enforcement Administration. For about 9 years, he served our country as a special agent, doing surveillance, undercover drug buys, and handling confidential informants. He wanted to make the most out of his hard-earned money, so he attended what he says was a DEA-required retirement benefits seminar run by this man, Wayne McLeod.
Wayne McLeod was introduced to us as a financial planner that works with DEA to help people with their retirement.
The ABC 15 investigators uncovered documents showing the federal government paid McLeod to put on the seminars. He would travel the country from his home in Florida. And we discovered an email showing a DEA supervisor especially recommended the seminars to employees.
I do not charge for the advice I give.
This is an audio recording of McLeod during one of his many seminars.
The government is my only contract.
For nearly 2 decades, federal agencies, including the ATF, ICE, and the DEA, paid McLeod thousands of dollars to advise employees on the federal retirement system. McLeod's business brochure even shows he employed former federal agents in his practice.
All supervisors were very chummy with him.
But as McLeod befriended agents, he also approached federal employees outside of his seminars, encouraging them to invest in a separate private fund, a federally insured bond fund, he claimed, that was guaranteed, one that would provide very high returns, 8 to 10% each year.
The fact that he's being represented by DEA and brought in by DEA and a vendor, I felt, okay, he's got to be trustworthy.
Scott invested $90,000 in 2006. Securities and exchange documents show hundreds of federal agents invested their life savings in McLeod's private fund.
4 years went by. Agents here in the Valley say they thought their money was growing in a government-secured bond fund. Scott even received some interest payments on his investment. But then last summer, something fishy turned up in their email boxes. Something that would ruin their lives.
I pray that at some point in time you can and will forgive me.
The email came from McLeod with news he was shutting down the special fund.
So when I see the email, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to get my money back. Sweet. So I have a great weekend, not knowing that he was being investigated by SEC.
While Scott thought he was starting a successful financial future, McLeod was planning something else.
St. Johns County Sheriff's Office.
I was about to take testimony of somebody who just sent us a note saying that they were going to kill themselves.
This 911 recording reveals SEC investigators were on McLeod's trail.
He was supposed to appear in 10 minutes, and he sent an email saying he was not going to be coming, and he said death is a better option.
Court paperwork filed by SEC investigators shows McLeod's so-called guaranteed fund was actually a Ponzi scheme. He'd used some investors' money to pay others and himself. Records say he swindled at least $34 million from victims across the country, and eventually
Got that black Hummer over here in Maynard Park. Got your next one, folks in the vehicle.
the scam spiraled out of his control.
He killed himself. The two things that I want to more so get out of this is to get my money back and expose the government for what they did.
And he's not alone. Scott is among several dozen current and former government employees about to file claims in preparation for a suit against the federal government. He says someone hired to work so closely with federal employees should have been vetted more thoroughly and never allowed to solicit clients for his side business during government-paid seminars.
I know that I'm never going to get all my money back. It's impossible.
The DEA told us they never authorized McLeod to solicit outside business from employees. And now the Office of the Inspector General for the Department of Justice, the SEC, and the FBI are all investigating to determine whether anybody else, including government employees, may have been aware of or involved in the scheme. I'm investigator Lori Jane Gliha, ABC 15 News.